Unleashing the miraculous power you've been reluctant to embrace, 7 prophetic revelations await. Margaret, a humble widow of St. Mary's Hollow, felt the chill of despair cloaking her as she knelt on worn floorboards in her modest cottage. Shadows danced around her flickering candle, calling forth her deepest prayers to St. Jude. Just as tears brimmed in her eyes, a vision took hold of her heart. 7 radiant lanterns floated before her, illuminating a path through the darkest night. The warmth of their glow beckoned her to venture forth. This, she realized, was divine hope thrust into her trembling hands. It was a chance to save her beloved son, Thomas. The next morning dawned, the village still slumbering under a soft mist. At the ancient stone church, citizens gathered, whispering in hushed tones, uncertainty dangling in the air. The pastor, all about him aglow with righteous fervor, preached about unwavering faith through trials. God calls us to act. Our voices intertwined can move mountains, he declared. And though his words sang of promise, Margaret felt the heavy weight of skepticism press down on her. Gasps rippled from the congregation, eyes darting in suspicion, as her thin frame promised hope amidst fear. "Come, let us pray, for together our faith shall rise," Margaret urged, her voice breaking like a wave against a rocky shore. Dropping confident invitations into the hands of her neighbors, she watched as they hesitated, torn between belief and disbelief. But faith held strong within her, that flickering flame ignited by her 7 lanterns. These revelations must be embraced. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. Days slipped by, marked by growing whispers of ridicule ringing all around her. "Has she lost her mind?" they murmured behind locked doors, while Thomas's health hung by a mere thread. Each prayer meeting felt like it split the village further, yet in Margaret's chest a spark ignited, a call to something greater. The strength of their united pleas resounded, creating ripples of faith, igniting hope in even the most reluctant hearts. No longer could she cower in the grip of despair. She must embrace the unknown. As they gathered in tight circles, voices harmonized, an echo transcending the ordinary. One evening, amidst the fervent prayers, a sudden hush fell upon them. A weighty silence thickened the air. It heralded a moment of reckoning. A luminous glow coursed through the church, transforming the sanctuary. Margaret's breath hitching, she knelt to the ground, tears spilling forth as something extraordinary stirred, a divine presence woven into their gathering. And as the lantern light enveloped her, Margaret felt a divine promise surge through her spirit. This was but the beginning. What awaited on the other side of their faith? Would their cries rise to the heavens, find answers to their desperate pleas? Questions danced like leaves in the wind, urging her heart to leap forward, leaning into the miracle awaiting them all. The light began to shimmer, casting shadows that flickered across the walls. Margaret's gaze lifted, meeting the expectant eyes of her neighbors, hearts trembling in unison. In that sacred moment, an unlikely bond formed, a tapestry woven by their collective yearning, the echo of prayer rising higher than before. She felt the weight of their doubt, but alongside it, a surge of hope empowered her voice. "Let us believe. Let us unite." With each word, Margaret urged them to let go of their hesitation. The church transformed into a safe haven where all could breathe faith freely. Their murmurs quieted, and all eyes turned toward the flickering light, every heart beat with an unknown anticipation. "Can we not hold the lanterns high, together?" she implored, her words like warm honey dripping from her lips. "For in the light of our faith, the darkness cannot prevail." One by one, hands reached out, grasping the metaphorical lantern she offered, the revelations of strength, love, healing, transformation, peace, patience, and joy.
Each individual faced their own fears and doubts in this gathering, yet united, they began to shine brighter. The congregation's resilience began to merge with breezes of faith, pushing them onward. As the light flickered intensely, a sweet scent began to fill the air, a fragrant mixture of wildflowers and fresh earth, nature's perfume. It wrapped around them, enveloping the praying hearts, an indication of the divine presence. Thomas, still bedridden and weak, lay with his thin fingers clutching the crucifix. Could he sense the warmth radiating from the church? Suddenly, the pastor stepped forward, a tremor vibrating through his voice. "Heaven shows up in our obedience," he exclaimed with fervor. "Let us take this leap of faith. What may seem impossible can manifest through the power of community." Inspired, voices intermingled, praises floated, mingling with prayers, forming a melody that rose like incense. Margaret felt hope blossom within her heart. With every heartbeat, she envisioned Thomas healed, laughing with the other children again. Her vision became clearer, the lanterns casting brighter, urging her forward in faith. "Lord, we trust in your plan, even when the road is uncertain," she cried out, her spirit rising like the sun after the night. "We believe in miraculous power. We stand here united."
A hush again fell upon the gathered souls as silence flowed through them. A shared understanding ignited a fire in their hearts. Then, from the far corner, a soft, trembling voice broke through. "What if we do not see a change?" It was Rosalind, a voice of doubt lingering secretively among them. "Even in darkness, a single flicker can illuminate a path," Margaret assured her, swallowing the doubt rising within. "Our faith may even require us to walk through the unseeing." She could sense the resistance wavering, melting away like ice on a warm day. Would they embrace the power God bestowed upon them? Would they step forward and grasp the ungraspable? Visions of radiant hope illuminated Margaret's heart. She kept feeling the tug of the divine. Something profound was unfolding. But just as the crescendo of prayers reached its zenith, an unexpected sound echoed in the background, a sharp cry piercing through the walls of their unity, resonating a panic that sent shivers through the gathering. What had emerged? What truth lay waiting just on the other side of their faith? As Margaret's heart raced, the congregation turned, yearning to understand the divine mystery unfolding before them. The sharp cry sliced through the air, a haunting sound that echoed with desperation. It sent waves of uncertainty through the gathered souls. Faces turned towards the source, eyes wide with fear, yet a flicker of curiosity danced in their hearts. "Is it Thomas?" someone whispered, a tremor in the voice. Margaret felt a chill run down her spine. She had envisioned healing, laughter, and restoration, but now concern gnawed at her spirit. A collective gasp rose from the congregation, and in that moment, it was as if the shadows themselves were whispering doubts into the corners of their minds. But still, the light flickered with resilience. "Let us not falter," she shouted, her voice rising above the murmur of apprehension. "We are on this journey together. Trust in the light we've created. Let it guide us." As if answering her rallying cry, the flickering light intensified, bathing the room in a warm glow that wrapped around the souls present. It felt alive, pulsating as though it understood their fears and hopes alike. The sweet scent returned, a reminder of the divine presence. Margaret looked around, eyes met hers, their reflections shining with determination. They saw the doubt. Yes, they felt it too. But somewhere beneath it all, there was an ember of faith ready to ignite into a raging fire. Slowly, she began to move towards the sound, beckoning them to follow. "Let's go together," she called, urging the congregation forward, their collective feet shoveling in a rhythm of hesitant courage. As they approached the cry's origin, the scene unfolded. Thomas lay in his room, his frail form bolstered by a wild energy that coursed through him. His eyes were bright, yet the panic in his voice filled the air. "Margaret, I saw something, a light."
"There's a light in my dreams, but when I wake, it's gone." Margaret knelt beside him, her heart pounding. She took his thin hands in hers, feeling the warmth of life still flowing within. "Thomas, tell me more. What did the light say to you?" He stared into her eyes, a mix of fear and wonder. "It whispered that hope is never lost, and healing is possible if we just believe." The church congregation edged closer, absorbing the words as if they were life-giving water in a parched desert. The tension in the air seemed to shift, hearts daring to grasp the hope Thomas expressed. Encouraged, Margaret placed her forehead against Thomas's, pouring her faith into him. "We believe in miraculous power, Thomas. You are not alone. We are all here, united." At that moment, the walls seemed to pulse with the divine energy they had summoned. The very essence of hope danced in the air around them, filling the room with sacred vibrations. The congregation began to softly hum, then their voices intertwined as they sang softly, harmonizing with whispered prayers. Each note wrapped around them like a protective embrace. Margaret felt the energy surge. It was as if the light had taken form, flowing through each person present, strengthening their faith. But amid the warmth of unity, darkness lurked at the edges, waiting. Margaret felt the weight of hesitation begin to creep back. What if they were only prolonging the inevitable? How long could this profound hope sustain them in the wake of reality? As the energy thickened around them, a sudden shudder swept through the crowd, silencing every voice. Margaret's heart thudded. They were so close, yet the shadows seemed ready to plunge in again. Would they hold on to the truth Thomas had uncovered? Would they dare to step through the uncertain veil of faith and embrace the divine? Just then, a radiant beam of light pierced the gloom, radiating from Thomas, illuminating the gathered souls. They gasped, transfixed. The moment held its breath, leaving everyone on the edge of wonder. Could this be the beginning of something wondrous? What power were they about to encounter? Margaret's spirit ignited with unshakable resolve. She would protect this light at all costs. The answer was near, but the path remained shrouded in mystery. As Thomas lay there, bathed in radiant light, the air around him thrummed with a palpable energy. Margaret felt that unmistakable surge of faith among the gathered souls, a bond that knotted them tighter with every passing second. They were not just spectators, they were participants in a grand unfolding, a tapestry woven from their collective hopes. "Look," whispered a voice from the crowd, awed and trembling. It rippled through the air like a gentle breeze, stirring the hearts of those present. Eyes widened as the light pulsed, brighter with each heartbeat, beckoning them ever closer to its source. "Thomas," Margaret breathed, her voice steady despite the whirlwind of emotions within her. "Tell us what you see. Let us into this vision. We are here, ready to receive." The words, simple yet saturated with love, hung in the atmosphere like a prayer. He blinked, drawing in the warmth that surrounded him. It was a field, full of flowers, each one a different color, and the light, it was alive. It spoke of joy, of healing. His brow furrowed, searching, trying to anchor his thoughts. But it told me to share this, that healing is not just for me, it's for all of us. An electric silence filled the room. The congregation, breathing as one, felt the weight of his message settle into their spirits. They were hungry for whispers of the divine, for assurance that something greater was within reach. Cautiously, Margaret addressed the congregation. This is our moment. Have faith in what Thomas has seen. Healing, joy, and unity are rising within us." Her voice rose, buoyed by faith, a sound of hope creating a ripple all around. In an inspired rush, they joined hands, forming a chain of strength that encircled Thomas. The atmosphere crackled with anticipation, blossoming into a symphony of soft prayers, heartfelt whispers, and fervent praises. Light danced among them, weaving through the gathering like a delicate thread of gold. But even amidst this soaring light, Margaret's heart wrestled with shadows. She felt doubt seep in, a nagging thought that whispered, "This was too good to be true." What if this is just a momentary flicker? She pondered, fighting the hesitation that threatened to invade the encircling bond. Yet as she looked into Thomas's eyes, she saw a purity, a promise that urged her to let go of skepticism. "We must let our hearts be fully open. Fear must not be allowed to tether us," she declared, shaking the thoughts loose. The congregation pressed on, their voices lifting, resonating with the force of their gathered faith. The light surged, enveloped them all, and with it came a vivid sense of clarity, a divine assurance that they were not alone in their struggles. Each person felt trepidation fade, replaced by the overwhelming sense of belonging, of shared purpose. "Thomas," Margaret said, this time more softly, "what we feel now, it's a glimpse of heaven, isn't it? We are learning to embrace the miraculous." With that, Thomas nodded, confirming her reflection. "Yes, and we must trust the vision, allow it to unfold as it should." As they harmonized their voices in praise, a shift occurred.
The shadows retreated further back, eclipsed by the brilliance that erupted within the room. In that melding of light and spirit, hope seemed to ripple outward like a wave cresting against the shore. In the depths of this moment, something magnificent was indeed stirring. Margaret felt the thresholds of their potential weighing against the brink of breakthrough, yet she knew the journey was far from over. What happens next? She wondered, sensing a pivotal moment just beyond their grasp.
As the luminous glow crescendoed, all at once they fell silent, suspended in space and time, waiting, knowing the divine was about to reveal something stunning. Would they be ready for what was to come? The stage was set for a revelation that could forever change the course of their lives. Margaret's heart raced as she felt the energy surrounding them grow even more potent. It was as if the very air was charged with whispered assurances of love and purpose. The radiant light shimmered, casting tendrils of illumination across the faces of the congregation. She could see resolve forming in their expressions as they opened their hearts wider, surrendering to the divine embrace, affirming in silent agreement. "What comes next, Lord?" Margaret wondered, barely speaking the question aloud. In that moment of stillness, she felt a shift, as if the world outside pressed against a fragile veil, holding an abundance of divine possibilities waiting to be unleashed. "Listen," came Thomas's voice, bright and firm. "Can you hear it?" The room fell deeper into silence. They strained their ears, and like a soft breeze caressing their skin, a gentle melody emerged from the light. It was a song of hope, a chorus that spoke of new beginnings and unimagined miracles. Each note beckoned them to release the burdens of doubt that had weighed them down for too long. Suddenly, a wave of warmth washed through Margaret, starting from her fingertips and coursing down through her spine. It felt unmistakably like the hand of God, reassuring her that the revelations they were about to receive were not only for Thomas or any single soul, but for every heart present. "Open your hearts wide," she urged the congregation, her voice trembling with conviction. "This is our time for healing. We must be ready to receive what God has prepared for us." One by one, she saw heads nodding and hands clenching tighter around each other's. A steadfast unity rose, transcending the fear that had threatened them moments before. Even those who had stood with uncertainty now leaned in closer, eyes sparkling with anticipatory faith. "Feel the weight lift," Thomas said softly, the light around him pulsing with intensity as he spoke. Margaret closed her eyes, envisioning their gathering as a delicate thread connecting them, each person a vital strand in a beautiful tapestry woven by grace. As if echoing her thoughts, the melody sharpened, urging them to let go of fear, to step into the unknown with unwavering faith. Then it happened. A burst of brilliant light erupted from Thomas's core, sending ripples through the gathering like a blossoming flower unfurling its petals to the sun. The vibrant colors morphed, creating a vast spectrum that washed over each soul, igniting within them a familiar yearning, a desire for renewal, for forgiveness, and for the courage to embody the miracles of their faith.
Margaret gasped at the power of the unfolding moment. Incredible warmth spread throughout her body as tears rolled down her cheeks, a peaceful release of all that had trapped her heart in darkness. "Let us claim what is ours," she shouted, bolstered by the overwhelming assurance of a light. In that moment, she knew they were not just awaiting the miraculous, they were becoming it. Voices rose in unison, a pure expression of love and trust. "We are ready, Lord! We are ready!" Each shout punctuated the air, expelling the last remnants of doubt, empowering them to receive the depth of the divine plan woven just for them. Yet, in the midst of this overwhelming surge of hope and light, Margaret sensed a stirring of questions, a new acknowledgement of the unknown that lay ahead. What if the revelations challenge us? What if we are pushed to our limits? The threads of faith that knitted them together seemed stronger than ever, but the awareness of potential trials lingered on the edges of her thoughts. As the light enveloped them fully, waiting for the next divine revelation, Margaret could only breathe, anticipating how God might shape their lives next. A harmony of hearts stood on the brink of a new reality, with the expectation of what was yet to be revealed weighing heavily upon them. The answers were coming, but what would they demand of them? The atmosphere thickened with possibility, the air trembling with an energy that hinted at impending transformation. Margaret could feel the pulsing rhythm of the room, a collective heartbeat aligned with the divine. The light intensified, illuminating every corner, every shadow, driving away the last remnants of uncertainty. "Hold tight to your faith," Thomas instructed, his voice ringing like a bell. "What comes next is a gift,
one we must receive with gratitude and courage. The congregation leaned forward, like flowers yearning for the sun, ready to drink in every drop of revelation. Margaret opened her heart wider, seeking clarity amid the warm glow that surrounded them. She cast her mind back to the struggles they had faced together, the doubts, the losses, the nights steeped in silence. Each trial had forged them into a family of believers, stronger together than they had ever been apart. Then clarity struck like a bolt of lightning. "We must not shy away from the trials ahead," she whispered, her voice barely audible but infused with fervor. "God's design often involves the toughest paths leading to the brightest destinations." As if to affirm her words, Thomas stepped into the spotlight of the light that had been growing ever so vibrant, beckoning the onlookers to behold the miracle unfolding before them. "This is our holy moment," he declared, authority washing over his presence like an ocean wave. "Let our fears be the stepping stones to our future." Margaret's pulse quickened. She could sense the anticipation mounting among the gathered souls.
Each face glowed as they whispered in prayer, hands clasped tightly together, grounding themselves in this shared sacred space. "Embrace change," she said, drawing on every ounce of courage. "Every revelation might ask something of us, but it is through the challenge that we reveal our true strength. We are destined for greatness if we dare to believe." The congregation murmured in agreement, an electric hum building among them. Eyes began to sparkle brighter, catching the colors swirling in the light, flushing warmth into each heart. And just as hope began to unfurl fully, a voice, a soft melodic tone, sounded from within the luminosity surrounding Thomas. "Do not fear the unknown," it whispered, reverberating through the bodies present. "For every answer that comes with all its weight carries also the grace to carry it." Margaret felt the warmth of that promise blanket them like a comforting shawl. A moment of divine silence swept through. They held their breath, suspended in sacred time. Was this the breakthrough they had prayed for? The gentle revelations that would lead them to new horizons? The light shifted, swirling into shapes, images of their past hardships melding with visions of what could be. They saw themselves climbing mountaintops, pushing through darkness, reaching out for the lost and broken souls outside these walls. Their spirits soared in hope, illuminated by what was promised. "All who are weary, come," the voice resonated again, accompanied by a surge of light that spiraled down upon them like a waterfall of grace. "You are the vessels of my love. Step into your purpose." Margaret's heart raced. Could they truly be ready for such a call? Yet lingering questions brushed against her mind. Did they have the strength to meet the challenges that would soon unfold? Was every individual prepared to face these revelations, the intertwined journeys ahead that beckoned them? With the light flickering and buzzing with divine promise, Margaret felt as if they stood on the threshold of a miraculous awakening. What awaited them just beyond the veil? Would they rise to meet the profound call waiting at their doorstep? The air quivered as a final instruction lay ahead, and in that expectant silence, the congregation collectively awaited their divine destiny, hearts trembling with unanswered questions, hungry for the revealed truth. What wonders would become manifest when they stepped forward in faith? A gentle warmth enveloped them, and Margaret closed her eyes, letting the moment wash over her. She felt as if she were being drawn into a cosmic dance, swirling with divine potential. It was here, within this sacred space, that they were all connected by a single thread of grace. Suddenly, Thomas raised his arms, signaling for their attention once more. The vibrant light flickered and danced around him, as if responding to his call.
"God, in his infinite wisdom, has prepared us for this time," he proclaimed, conviction radiating from his very being. His voice now took on a richer timbre, echoing within the depths of their souls. "Let us not only embrace what is to come, but seek it out with eager hearts," he continued. His eyes glanced over the congregation, his gaze full of faith and encouragement. "Each of us is necessary in this unfolding story. We are here for a purpose much greater than ourselves." Margaret opened her eyes, her heart brimming with anticipation. She exchanged quick glances with her fellow congregants, each face knit with determination. The fear that had once held them in its grip began to dissolve, replaced by the flicker of hope igniting their spirits. As if he sensed the shift in the atmosphere, Thomas lowered his voice and leaned forward slightly.
There may come a time when we face adversity, when shadows threaten to engulf us. But the Lord declares, when you pass through the waters, I will be with you, and through the rivers, they shall not overwhelm you. His words flowed over them like a balm, soothing their fears and igniting their courage. Margaret felt the weight of those words settle in her heart. This is divine empowerment, she whispered to herself, feeling the verse resonate within her. An image appeared before her, a visual of herself standing at a riverbank, summoning the strength to cross. Others stood alongside her, clasping hands, each person empowered by mutual resolve, a tapestry of faith woven together. Remember, friends, Thomas urged, every challenge we face is an invitation from God to step deeper into our destinies. The trials ahead may be daunting, but on the other side lies transformation, glory, miraculous breakthroughs. A ripple of excitement passed through the congregation, small gasps escaping lips. Amen echoed through the room, filling the air with a heavenly cadence. Thomas inhaled deeply, clearly sensing a divine prompting. We must now give way to this moment. It is time to submit our fears at the altar of surrender. He gestured towards the simple wooden altar, a physical embodiment of their hopes and burdens. Bring forth your fears, write them down if you wish, and offer them to the Lord, he encouraged. The congregation stirred, some rushing forward while others hesitated, caught in the tension between dread and desire. Margaret felt the urgency to join them. She moved slowly to the altar, her hands trembling, carrying invisible weights. With her pen poised over paper, she wrote, pouring out all that haunted her heart: fear of failure, worry about the future, pain from past hurts. As she placed the paper on the altar, a surge of light filled the room, enveloping her in warmth. In that divine moment, she sensed a clarity, God's assurance that every tear counted toward their collective healing. Thomas's voice broke through her thoughts. Let this be a testimony of our faith.
When we lay these burdens down, we are freed to pursue the destiny crafted uniquely for us. Margaret glanced at the faces around her, eyes glistening with tears of anticipation. The atmosphere hummed with life and possibility, swirling like a whirlwind of purpose. "Friends," Thomas called out again, his voice ringing clear, "do you hear the call? God is preparing us for a mighty work, a work of healing, of love, of renewal. We stand on the cusp of something unparalleled." He raised his hands, the congregation echoing him in fervent response. "Step into the light of your divine calling." As the energy pulsed stronger, Margaret joined the congregation's chorus. The place felt alive, vibrating with the truth that they had a mission meant to reach beyond these walls, to touch and transform lives outside. What awaited them on this journey of radical faith? With every heartbeat, the Spirit of God seemed to whisper, beckoning them deeper into the unknown. And just as the excitement reached a crescendo, a sudden weight jolted through her, a vision flickering just beyond her conscious grasp. What awaited them on the other side of that leap of faith? Margaret found herself wondering if they were truly ready for what God was about to unveil. Margaret stood at the altar, surrounded by flickering candles and the warmth of hopeful souls. There was a sacred electricity in the air, thick and pulsing. She breathed deep, feeling the weight of her fears lift, as something new began to stir within her. The collective energy fueled her spirit, igniting a fire she didn't know existed. Thomas continued, his voice now rising, filled with an impending fervor. "We are not just participants in this divine plan. We are instruments of the miraculous." Each word carried the weight of the collective burden they had laid down, amplifying their faith as if feeding into a greater purpose. Margaret's attention turned to the altar, where her fears lay bare. She could picture them transformed into seeds, buried in rich soil, awaiting their due time to bloom. What beauty could arise from these ashes, she thought, nearly overwhelmed with possibility. As if sensing her thoughts, Thomas spoke again. "Miracles are born from desperation. They are forged where the light meets the darkness." His eyes sparkled, and the congregation echoed his excitement, abandoning their reservations. "Is there someone among us who feels the gentle tug of the Spirit to testify?"
In that moment, a young woman named Jessica stepped forward, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. I have struggled with the weight of expectation, my own and those of others. The congregation leaned in, sensing her vulnerability. But today, I surrender that weight. I want to embrace who God says I am. A wave of affirmation rippled through the group. Yes, sister, let it be so. Voices rose in unified praise, an outpouring of support flowing from each heart, binding them closer together.
Margaret felt herself swell with joy. They were shedding their pasts, ready to embrace their divine identities, each story interlacing with the next, much like a beautiful tapestry being woven anew. Then another voice joined the chorus. I'm Mark. I've harbored bitterness against circumstances, against God. Today I choose to let it go. His words struck deep, resonating with threads of sorrow entwined in many hearts. Cheers erupted from the congregation. Thank you for your bravery, brother. Margaret couldn't contain her excitement any longer. This is what it means to be free, to embrace who we are meant to be. An undeniable presence, an ethereal glow seemed to swell from within the group. Thomas raised his hands, and the aura around them intensified. The Spirit is moving. More are called to release. Come forth. With each step taken toward the altar, each soul poured out burdens, fears, and scars, leaving behind vestiges of their old selves. Margaret felt the light surrounding them wrap around her, knitting their stories together, each woven with threads of hope and redemption. But suddenly, a hush fell. The weight of the air shifted. Something was coming, something divine. In the center of the room, a shimmering light began to coalesce. It sparkled and twinkled, casting golden hues that danced across the walls. Whispers rose among the crowd, eyes wide in awe. What is that? Someone gasped. Thomas stepped forward, hands open to the light. This is a manifestation of God's love and truth, a representation of the power that has dwelled in each of us. Are you ready to receive what God has for you? Margaret's heart raced. She had felt the stir of something powerful beginning deep within, but now it was tangible, alive. It beckoned her, inviting her to step toward it. The collective heartbeat of hope rose among them, a symphony of faith. Are we truly prepared? She wondered, a mix of excitement and trepidation washing over her. If they took this leap, what would they encounter? The light pulsed softly, calling them to trust. With a spirit ignited by yearning, Margaret made her choice. Yes, Lord, I am ready to embrace the miraculous. The chorus of agreement echoed around her, a chorus of souls ready to dive deeper still. And as the congregation prepared to step into this unknown, Margaret caught a glimpse of something larger, a vision of what awaited them, a divine mosaic yet to unfold. Would they dare leap, ready to find their true purpose beyond their wild imaginations? The atmosphere thickened with anticipation. As Margaret's voice echoed through the room, each word felt like a prayer woven into the very fabric of the moment. The shimmering light pulsated gently, illuminating the faces of the congregation, and Margaret found herself awestruck. It was as if heaven pressed down, eager to meet them in their faith. Thomas stood tall, his arms wide beneath the radiance. This is not just light, my friends. This is the very essence of hope. God is revealing himself in our midst. His fervor was contagious, a spark igniting the hearts of those gathered. People began to murmur, voices rising, each sharing fragments of their own struggles and revelations, pouring forth as a melodious offering. Margaret felt her heart swell as she listened to each testimony. Stories of despair transformed into declarations of freedom rang out like glorious bells. "The shackles are breaking," someone exclaimed. "I am no longer a prisoner to my past." Every proclamation added another layer of warmth to the divine atmosphere. Suddenly, the shimmering light shifted, casting a brilliant beam towards Jessica, the young woman who had first spoken. "Jessica, step into the light," Thomas called. With determination, Jessica moved forward, the glow embracing her. "Today, I choose to trust that God sees me as worthy." Her voice trembled, yet rang with strength. As she spoke, a renewed energy swept through the room. Margaret felt a ripple of encouragement, sparking her own inner flame. What if she too were to step into that light? What if they all embraced the power that had always been theirs? The murmuring changed from uncertainty to eagerness.
"I want to let go," another voice chimed in, a man's confident declaration. "I want his peace." Margaret watched as people ventured forward, one by one, their burdens becoming light. With every confession, the light seemed to pulse in delighted response, illuminating their wounds and healing them in an instant. "This is the miracle we long for," she thought, joy bubbling within her. Finally, it was her turn. Stepping towards the light, she felt the warmth wrap around her like a mother's embrace. She closed her eyes, surrendering her fears and doubts. "Lord, I am ready for my eyes to be opened. Show me your plan," she whispered, her heart racing. In that moment, a deep peace settled around her. The shimmering glow shifted colors, morphing into hues of deep blues and vibrant golds. As Margaret opened her eyes, she felt the divine invitation to step forward, to accept the fullest version of herself that she had always hesitated to embrace. Suddenly, the atmosphere shimmered with an even more potent energy. Thomas looked around the gathering, his eyes sparkling. "The moment of divine intervention is here. Open your hearts and receive." Margaret sensed an urge to share the adventure she felt stirring within her. "The light calls us to not just witness, but to participate," she exclaimed, her voice rising above the hum. "Let's not only receive, but also be vessels of this miraculous power." A chant began to swell. "We are vessels! We are vessels!" The congregation erupted into a chorus of declarations, voices ringing in unison. As the room filled with praises, a fire ignited within Margaret. It was clear the miraculous was not just for them, but through them, waiting to be unleashed into the world.
But just then, the light pulsed with unexpected urgency, an unseen force pulling at the edges of their reality. "What's happening?" a voice trembled in the back, fear mingling with thrill. Margaret's pulse quickened once more. Something great was about to occur. What awaited them on the other side of this divine doorway? Would they be able to hold the miracles God wanted to unfold through their lives? The path forward shimmered with both mystery and promise, beckoning them all into the unknown. As the shimmering light intensified, bathing the congregation in warmth, Margaret felt her heartbeat in rhythm with the collective hope filling the space. "This is it," she whispered, recognizing the pivotal moment before them, a time to step boldly into divine purpose. The air crackled with tension and promise, as if the very veil separating the seen from the unseen was thinning, ready to unveil extraordinary truths. Thomas, standing tall before the light, raised his hands, channels of raw faith directed toward his brothers and sisters. "God is ready to reveal his mysteries. Are we prepared to embrace what lies ahead?" His voice echoed like thunder, igniting fervor in every soul present. Yes, they were ready, and Margaret could see the vibrant energy of belief flowing through them, each person a beacon reflecting the divine luminosity. "Let's welcome healing," shouted a woman from the back, as her hands lifted in jubilant surrender. The sound resonated, a wave that swept through the gathering. The whispers of doubt that had haunted them now fled before the tide of unified faith. "Together we are strong," Margaret affirmed, her voice ringing with confidence. She felt the unity among them, a mystical fabric woven from shared trials, hopes, and dreams. Tears flowed freely, not of sorrow, but of overwhelming joy, as burdens were released and faith gave rise to deeper connections. "Look," Thomas exhaled, his eyes wide with excitement, as the light spiraled around him. "Miracles await us. Reach out and take hold." Margaret felt an urgency stir in her spirit. She could almost touch the divine miracles poised to unfurl around them. As hands reached toward Thomas, the light blossomed like a flower unfurling at dawn, a manifestation of healing, strength, and divine grace. Faces shimmered, transformed by hope as they felt the invigorating presence of God. Margaret stepped forward, her heart aflame. "Lord, we are here." She closed her eyes, absorbing the warm glow that now enveloped them. The atmosphere thickened, rich with the sacred scent of renewal in the air, like fresh rain against dry earth, welcoming new life. "It's time to shout out our desires," Thomas called. "Speak your miracles into existence. Your faith can manifest incredible things." A chorus erupted, cries of faith cascading toward the heavens, each person pouring out their hopes, led by the heart of a community determined to break free. I heard myself declaring, "I claim joy."
"I claim restoration for our families." Her words floated upward, mingling with the passionate intercessions rising all around her. "And I claim healing for Thomas. Let him be restored." The room vibrated with energy, a symphony of voices. Each utterance lifted the light higher, fueling its brilliance, a kaleidoscope of shimmering colors spinning in response to their faith and desire. And then it happened. A wave surged, flowing like a river cascading over rocks. A fresh breath of divine air swept through the room, igniting each soul with undeniable truth. Margaret saw visions of laughter, abundance, and unity, images of children playing and broken hearts mending. The light pulsed again, a burst of golden energy cascading over Thomas. He gasped, eyes widening. "Mother, I feel it!" His voice cut through the air, filled with both disbelief and awe. "The dream, the light, it's here among us!" Tears streamed down Margaret's face as she reached toward her son, understanding flooding her heart. This was not just a personal miracle, it was a testament to their journey together. Faith had moved mountains, binding them higher to each other and their community. "Together, let us celebrate this miracle," she proclaimed, embracing the joyous energy swirling within their midst. Uplifting praise erupted in various melodies, unifying every heart and soul, resonating through the walls of the old church. Margaret felt pulsations of divine love flow through them, winding tighter, a living tapestry of devotion and gratitude. As the chorus of voices rose, the light responded, knitting itself into their testimonies, illuminating the sacred connection they shared. Margaret's heart swelled with an overwhelming sense of purpose. They had not only encountered the miraculous, they had become the carriers of it, destined to share their overflow with the world. "Let's go forth," Thomas shouted above the praises. "Let us be vessels of faith, witnesses to the transformations unfolding in our spirits." Each powerful declaration melded into a harmonious song of release and empowerment, threading itself through each heart present. Margaret felt hope surging like a river within her. They were no longer a fragmented village. They had become a family bound by faith, ready to embrace the divine call waiting just beyond their walls. With renewed determination, she turned to the gathering. "Let's share this love we found. As we step into the world, let us shine brighter than ever before, radiating God's glory." The room trembled with agreement, hearts believing in the call to walk boldly into the unknown, hand in hand, as the light guided them forth, illuminating every step. Margaret took a deep breath, filling her spirit with gratitude. She knew the journey was only beginning. Miracles awaited them, not just in this moment, but in the lives they would change beyond the church doors. The light of faith had unleashed boundless possibilities, and they were ready to embrace them all.
As their voices rose, mingling with angels in their heavenly chorus, the magnitude of their collective faith resonated from St. Mary's Hollow into the far reaches of the world. Together, they had stepped into their divine purpose. Their story had just begun. Now is your moment, dear friends. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive faith stories. Leave a like now to show your support and feed the algorithm. It makes a difference. Comment below with your reactions and testimonies about this incredible ending. And don't wait even one more second. Share this video instantly with at least 5 friends who need to see this manifestation of hope and love. Together, we can change lives with our faith.